Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, Nigerian police detained the driver of the vehicle involved in the Lagos highway smash in which 2 people were killed and boxer Anthony Joshua was injured. Also, supporters of Guinea's former junta chief turned president-elect celebrate his win of the weekend's election. And Senegal's new leader uses his New Year speech to promise that there will be changes in the way that the country tackles violence against women. But first, the driver of the car involved in the fatal crash in which 2 friends of British boxer Anthony Joshua were killed has been held by police in Lagos. Joshua had a lucky escape from the accident on the busy highway between Lagos and Ibadan on Monday and was discharged from hospital on Thursday. Our Sam Olokoya is in Lagos and joins us now to get us up to speed. Sam, first of all, so the driver of that car involved in the smash in which Anthony Joshua was injured, was arrested just after he was released from hospital, I understand. What do we know about why he has been held?
Well, even preliminary investigation by authorities show that the driver might have been at fault as far as that accident was concerned. He was blamed for overspeeding. He was blamed for overtaking from the wrong side of the road. And then not just this driver alone, the second driver involved in this accident, that is the driver of the truck that is Anthony Joshua's car collided with. He's also been looked for. I think he went on the run immediately after this accident happened. And it seems to me authorities are trying to show the world that when things like this happen, they're able to act and able to prevent it happening again.
Now, how is Joshua himself doing? I understand he was released from hospital on Thursday.
Yeah, I think the hospital said he was deemed to be clinically fit for discharge. So one will assume that it's physically is fairly fine for his condition. He's believed to be at home with his Nigerian family, especially the mother who was very much involved in his care at the time he was in the hospital. He was at the funeral home where the bodies of his 2 friends were being prepared for repatriation. So clearly, physically, he's a bit okay for his condition, but I think the bigger problem is the emotional aspect of it. I mean, to have lost 2 friends under that very serious circumstance and then witnessing this happen, I think many people say it's quite devastating for him, not just for him as a person, but also for his career. So that is the big worry about more of his psychological impact, not so much the physical impact.
And Sam, you yourself you mentioned to me earlier this week when we were speaking about that you were surprised at just how touched you were by what happened to Joshua. Just a few weeks ago, his name was in the mouths of everyone all around the world because of his a very high-profile boxing match. He is British. How, though, has what happened been received in Nigeria? Has it been followed with quite as much attention as we're seeing perhaps from outside of the country?
Well, if you tell Nigerians it's British, they'll say, no, it's Nigeria. I mean, that's the way
dual nationals
that's
everywhere.
The way Nigerians see. Yes, the Nigerians see him purely as a Nigerian. And I think for good reason. Somebody who has attained that level of success. And when it comes to Nigeria, you see more of him with the very poor people, going to the slums, playing with them. And I mean, he's a grassroots kind of person. He's a man of the people. And that's why I said, to some extent, Nigerians see him as a Nigerian. It was, for once, Nigerians forgot the security situation. They forgot about the football and followed a situation. The big worry was that maybe Nigerians are hoping that no complication will arise from what has happened given that two people died. So Nigerians were quite worried, and it does it. And then it also highlights the issue of road safety in Nigeria. One, overspeeding, two, bus tire. This happens every time. Accidents happen every time. On the same day, Anthony Joshua had this accident. There was an accident in which 7 journalists were killed. So these things happen every time, and because it has happened to very high-profile people, I mean, Nigerians are coming back to wonder that what should we do about these incessant cases of road accidents that often leave people dead.
Thank you so much for getting us updating us on the situation on Anthony Joshua's crash in Nigeria. Samuel Okoye there in Lagos. Now, Gabon suspended its entire national football team and sacked the coaching staff. To really drive home the point, veteran players Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who plays for Marseille, and Bruno Ekwele Manga have been banned. The extreme move comes after the Panthers' poor showing at the Africa Cup of Nations currently underway in Morocco. 3 painful losses left them at rock bottom of Group F. The squad's 3-2 defeat by 102nd ranked Mozambique on Sunday, though, prevented them from progressing to the knockout stages and was taken so badly that the performance was even reviewed by the country's Council of Ministers. President Nguema even went so far as to say Gabon's national identity had been weakened. He's promised to do more going forward to try to shore up the country's footballing standards. Well, supporters of Guinea's junta chief, Mamadou Doumbouya, have been celebrating his election as president. Despite pledging not to run after he seized power 4 years ago, he secured a sweeping majority in Sunday's vote. Karim Kamara has more.
Normal life has begun in Guinea after Sunday's presidential elections. Guinean says the end of the election marks the beginning of a new era in Guinea, but with a lot of expectations. Guineans are expecting the newly elected president to do more for them, improve their daily life, and make sure that health conditions and education are improved in the country. But the election was marred by voters' apathy due to calls by exiled opposition leaders on their supporters not to vote in the elections. Despite supporters of junta leader Mamadou Doumbouya came out massively on their own side to vote in the elections, but this was unable to influence the turnout of the elections. Mamadou Doumbouya was later declared by the General Directorate of Elections with 86% of vote, declared him the winner of the elections, while Abdoulaye Yero Balde came second. But Yero has vehemently rejected the election result. He says the election was marred by massive vote fraud, and so therefore he is not going to accept the result and prefer to take the matter to the court. The ECOWAS, AU, and the African Union saluted the peaceful atmosphere that characterized Sunday's presidential elections in Guinea with no violence at all. But however, the troop observers team also noticed that the election wasn't inclusive at all. So they made it clear that the government should do everything possible to make sure that next elections are inclusive. They also outlined that a lot of massive fraud took place, especially in the interior of the country, wherein ballot boxes were taken to the General Electorate Office for people to vote, which they say was completely abnormal. Former President Alpha Condé, who still continued to live in exile, described the elections as a sham and masquerade. He says no matter how, Mamadou Doumbouya will not continue to be the president of Guinea. However, people are looking forward to the election results have been taken to the Supreme Court for a final verdict. People continue to glue to the radios to wait whenever the election to wait and see whether the Supreme Court will confirm the winning of General Mamadou Doumbouya.
Well, Senegal's leader, used his New Year speech to promise that there would be changes in the way that the country tackles violence against women. President Bassirou Diomaye Faye says that the problem will be prioritized. Rights campaigners have been warning of the rise in the number of women being killed, particularly in cases involving domestic abuse.
I want to strongly emphasize that no violence is tolerable in the Republic, particularly violence against women, femicide, and all attacks committed against the most vulnerable. The state will relentlessly pursue prevention, victim protection, and the relentless punishment of perpetrators so that dignity, safety, and life are guaranteed for all.
Well, the UN's moved dozens of migrants from sites in Libya and sent them to Chad instead. There are widespread international concerns about the brutal conditions people face in Libyan jails or other holding centres, as well as mounting reports of abuse of victims caught up in human trafficking networks.
On this construction site, some young Chadian returnees found a shelter. Before they came back here to fire, they have all been put in jail while trying to reach Europe. They say that they were brutally expelled from Libya at the end of November.
In that jail, they tortured us. But some other Chadians were treated even worse. They beat us, they made us suffer, they even made us sleep in the cold Libyan desert at night. Many people got sick and still suffer to this day.
Back in Chad, the group of youth found help in Ali Abdraman Faradi, who, like them, tried to emigrate. After being sent back from Libya in 2011, Ali founded an association to look after returning migrants.
I'm welcoming these people with what I have. I have no support from any organizations. We put those children back in school with our own means. We're really trying to handle the situation. If someone wants to leave fire and go back home, we try to find them a solution. If someone wants to stay here, we also try to support them.
The association offers food and medical checks-up in order to identify illness and detect signs of violence on migrants who have experienced Libyan prisons. Abandoned and without direction, these migrants are struggling with no resources or support available to them.
It's only when there's a problem that people call us. When one of these former migrants dies in the city, people look for us to finance the burial.
According to the association returned from Libya in November, more than 100 migrants who fled Libya arrived in Faya. In 2025, reports from Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, and UN agencies confirmed the systemic use of torture against migrants across Libya.
Well, finally, once again, let me wish all of our viewers the very best for 2026. And we'll leave you for now with images of Kenyan revelers seeing in the new year and bidding farewell to the old. Join us again for Eye on Africa when you can. Take care. Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith.
All the latest in politics, economics and the arts in Africa on France 24. Our journalists are in every region, every country, to report on the emergence of a continent of unparalleled riches. Bringing you Africa's stories on France 24.
Thanks for joining us. Do so again. Take care.
Liberté, égalité, actualité.